Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Tonight's video is going to be accompanied by a very special visual display as you see the streams of sunlight playing on the various surfaces of my face. So if what I have to say tonight doesn't interest you, then you can at least enjoy the visual effects that I've put so many hours in to get just for you tonight. Now, the video that I'm going to do today is a little bit different. And it's going to be a repair focused video, and this might have a couple of parts to it and so forth, but I received this baritone from Ukraine in the mail today, and it's got a couple of problems with it. It's got a lot of dents all over it, but the valve assembly is just sort of flapping around in the breeze. So we are going to fix that in this video. Now, disclaimer before we get started. If you don't know what you're doing when it comes to soldering brass instruments, don't try. If you take any of the content from this video, use it yourself and screw something up, then that is your fault, not mine. Here we have the valve assembly here. You can see that the soldering is quite clearly come away, and you can see the valves are attached, and this whole mechanism is a bit loosey-goosey. So what we're going to do firstly is just disassemble the pieces of this that we can access very easily. So we've got this screw here, that comes out remarkably easily. And what we're going to do is let that fall onto my bench so it makes it difficult to find later, which is, I believe, the approved strategy. So here we've got the two posts removed, and they look like this. Now you can see there's quite a lot of corrosion and stuff on there, so we're going to have to clean this up. But before we worry about that, we're going to worry about this. Now we've got this assembly removed, and I can note that this finger pad here is bent, so that's something else I'm going to have to fix. Anyway, this is the valves here. You'll note that these linkages here, they're just riveted on in place, so there is quite a lot of play in them, and it's by no means a precision instrument. You'll be able to notice here and here are the old marks where the posts used to live. They used to sit on here and one over there. So what we need to do first is to clean that all up. We want to work with raw brass and get rid of all of this coating. So there are a number of different tools that we could use. We could use sandpaper, as long as we cleaned it up afterwards. We could use some steel wool. But because I'm a little bit more of a chaotic person, I'm going to use a brass wire brush attached to the end of a drill. Now this is not the approved method. I'm only doing this because there is 40 years of Soviet muck on here, and this is the quickest and easiest way to do it, and this isn't an instrument that's ever designed to look pretty. I've cleaned up these posts off camera using the same delicate method, so now what we need to do is attach them to the instrument. Now, the tools that we're going to be using first is some flux. This is just some basic stuff from the hardware shop. The reason why we used flux is twofold. Firstly, it helps the solder flow into the joints, and secondly, it prevents a layer of oxide from building up on the surface of the metal. So we're going to put this on quite liberally, like that. The next tool I'm going to use is a butane torch. Now the reason why we use this is because when soldering brass instruments, you don't want to melt the solder onto the metal. You want to use the torch to heat up the brass sufficiently so that the temperature of the brass is what melts the solder. So by using this, we are going to heat up the metal. And now that the metal's heated up, we will apply some solder, and the temperature of the brass itself is going to be what helps the solder to flow into this joint. And just like that, the post is applied and soldered in place. Now, it's not a very good job, but it's solid, and that's all we're really after. So now to do the second post. If we go in a little bit closer, you'll be able to see the job that's been done. Now, it's not very good because I'm not particularly very adept at doing this sort of thing, but it is hopefully going to be sufficient. If I give it a knock test, it's at least not going to go anywhere. So with this third lever here, we can see that this little piece of metal here is bent around that way a little bit. So what I'm going to do to try and correct that is use the butane torch to heat it up, and then use some pliers to straighten it out. Now, you need to be very careful when doing this because the temperature of the gun will loosen some of the solders around, and we don't want to do that. Job done. The last thing I need to do to reassemble these valves is just to reattach these linkages to the valves here. Now, these valves rotate willingly, although by no means great. There we have it. 3 valves that now function, albeit very sluggishly and very noisily. But that's all we're going to do tonight. Thanks for watching.